I watched your lesson on comparing fractions. It was a small group intervention lesson, and I'd like us to do some reflecting on your lesson at this time. So if you could, please tell me, how do you feel the lesson went? And do you feel students mastered the objective that you were working towards? Okay, what data do you have to show that? Let's take a look at your data. Okay, so I'd like to provide some of my feedback at this time. And one of the things that I saw that was very positive is that all of the students in your lesson at one point got on the whiteboard and participated. So it's great that you're working towards that student participation. And I also noticed that you provided immediate positive feedback when students were experiencing success throughout the lesson. So let's keep those things going because those are some really positives. I'd like to talk about some things that I can help you improve on and some areas that I can help you grow as an educator. So am I correct in observing that throughout the lesson, when there were struggles with Blackboard or students weren't participating as expected, your level of frustration grew during those times? Yes, and that's something that I want to help alleviate because I'm concerned that it's going to reflect on your professionalism. And it's also reflecting on your students' ability to perform in the classroom. So I'd like to work on some things to help alleviate that frustration and allow you to run a smooth lesson and have your students learning improve, and we can see their growth academically. So if you're willing and if all of those things sound great, I'd like to work together, the two of us, on making those improvements. Okay, great. So let's work together. So I feel like a great place to start is to take a look at what lesson you're going to do tomorrow with this particular group of students. So if we could pull up that PowerPoint and let's take a look at that. And I want to ensure that we have a clear, concise lesson that allows for success on your end as well as the student's end. Okay, so let's take a look at your objective and let's take a look at the data that supports the need that this objective needs to be taught to these students. Okay, great. So now let's take a look at your I do. Let's look at your direct instruction portion. And looking at these slides on this particular lesson as well as the one I observed, there's a lot of information on this slide and it's a little tough for students, especially students struggling in math, to take in all of this. So let's maybe separate some of this information out onto a couple of slides so that we can pinpoint specific information that you're speaking to. And then you can go to the next slide and pinpoint the specific information. I think that's going to help your students attend to the lesson and help it flow and be nice and clear and not so overwhelming. Okay, now that we have a nice, clear I do, some nice, clean, direct instruction slides, and you know what you're going to say, and you've got that down. Let's think about the we do. How are we going to get the students engaging in this lesson to show us that they're understanding what you're teaching? So what are some ideas that you have that you've used in the past that have been successful? Okay, great. Well, let me give you a few of my ideas too, just to help you think of some new things. I'd like you to think about getting the students on the microphone, getting them to do think aloud, having them restate what you're doing, what you're working towards, what you're trying to understand, allowing them to put it into their own words for themselves as well as the benefit for the other students in the class. So let's think about this particular group of 5 to 6 students. Who do you think from your experience would be really good at restating what you said and speaking to the other students? Okay, Wanda, great. So let's think tomorrow about, at this point, getting Wanda on the microphone and asking her to just, in her own words, talk about what your direct instruction applied to today. Great, so let's try that for tomorrow. And when it comes, at this point, you seem to get the students on the whiteboard. So let's create a participation slide where each student has their own box where they're expected to work. Let's give each student a different problem. And let's put one problem in each box under the student's name. So when you go to this slide, you can give them all their tools and they can all work individually on their own problem. And you can immediately see if they're understanding the objective for today. Okay, so this is now we have our we do. We're all getting on the board. We're all showing the objective, if you have time and you feel comfortable, you can have more students get on and discuss what they did in their particular participation square so that they're explaining their work to their classmates. Okay, so now we have a very clear I do, direct instruction, a very clear we do, where the students are working to show their understanding as a group. Now let's go to the you do, where the students are going to work independently. And let's think about what you want to put in the breakout room. So let's pick 5 problems that reflect what you were doing in the we do, but not the exact same problems. Put them on a nice clear slide. And prior to getting ready for the you do, I'd like to see you have breakout rooms labeled for the students' names. So it's a very smooth transition from the main room to the breakout room. That causes you less stress, and it gives the students ownership to move into their own breakout room. Yeah, you've done that in the past. I just didn't see that in the lesson that I watched yesterday. Prior to moving to the breakout room, please make sure the students have very clear directions, exactly what they're going to do on this breakout room slide. And again, think about having a student get on the mic and restate your directions to remind everybody what they're doing and to make sure that your directions were clear and the students properly understood them. Because if a student restates your directions incorrectly, then you know you may need to go back and say them again. So now everybody has a very clear understanding of what they're doing in the breakout room. They're going to move themselves to the breakout room, have their tools, and I'd like to see you moving from breakout room to breakout room, providing support, encouragement, as you're seeing the students work, just providing them feedback, so taking a look as they're moving. I would also like to see you save these breakout room slides, because after this particular lesson tomorrow, I'd like us to meet together again and take a look. I want to hear your feedback. I want to hear how the lesson went, how our improvements worked for you, what we need to change for next time, and take a look at their breakout room work and see how we can use that data to drive the lesson for the next day. And we can think about creating a lesson for the next day. So together, we are going to improve your student learning, and we're also going to improve your stress level and make this all more manageable for you. So if you're on board, I'd like to see how this all works, and we'll set up a time to work together again tomorrow.